Hi there, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rose Writes, and I write and narrate Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction. Today I will be reading a story written by Xeno. All of his stories are excellent, and I will put a link in the description box below, so check him out. Also, this story is rated teen, so viewer discretion is advised. Please enjoy One Night of Ladrien by Xeno, narrated by Rose Writes. Adrien stood on the small balcony off his bedroom, formerly his father's, and looked out upon the absolutely stunning view of Paris at night. In an hour, he'd be 20 years old. He had always imagined that the transition from his teenage years would feel like a significant milestone, but after all that had happened in the last year, it seemed more of an anticlimax. The defeat of Hawkmoth would have been the most noteworthy event, made even more so by whose face had been hiding under that mask, had it not been for the revelation of Ladybug's true identity as well. Adrien still couldn't fathom how he hadn't recognized Marinette long before, even taking into account the quantum masking and all the misdirection she'd thrown at him. But what really threw him for a loop was her confession that she'd always been in love with him since the day after they'd met. The emotional whirlwind of that crazy time had finally accumulated in, well, suffice to say that it had been a truly wonderful night. Far more amazing than he had ever dared to imagine his first time could be. Once the rush and the afterglow had worn off, at least 2 full days afterward, Adrien had felt a lot of things. But among them, he'd definitely felt scared. Mostly he worried that the passion-fueled moment might end up somehow ruining the most precious relationship in his life. But fortunately, that fear had been completely unfounded. They also dodged a second potential consequence, which came from their reckless spontaneity. After that, they had always made sure to be better prepared. "It's probably best that we get the hamster first anyway," he'd joked when Marinette's test came up negative. And they'd laughed about that for much longer than the feeble attempt at humor warranted. As wonderful as this new facet of their relationship was, though, even that paled in comparison to the soul-saving emotional support Marinette offered as Adrien's life turned completely upside down. They had taken his father to the Guardians instead of the police. That had been a risk, as there was no telling what punishment the Ancient Order might exact for such severe misuse of a miraculous jewel. But it had also been the only chance to potentially revive Emily Agreste. That discovery had been even more of a blow to Adrien's already damaged psyche. Marinette came to his rescue even then, as she had used the horse Miraculous along with her status as the Guardian to check on Gabriel regularly, to ensure he was not being punished with cruelty, and that the Guardian healers were doing all they could for Adrien's mother and for Natalie. The only lingering issue Adrien felt was a complete inability to sleep in his own childhood bedroom. However, as he had only been in his parents' bedroom 3 or 4 times in his own memory, that place actually held no demons for him once the decor had been swapped out. And now Marinette had told him that she had a surprise for his birthday, and that he should be on his balcony on the night before the actual day. That meant she would almost certainly be arriving as Ladybug. Adrien smiled as he thought of what now seemed like a childhood crush on his superhero partner. He had fallen hard for her after having spent less than half an hour in her presence because, well, even now, the only way he could fully describe the reason why would be to say, who wouldn't? He couldn't even nail down exactly when he had reached that point where he would have been disappointed to find anyone besides Marinette behind that mask. But in his mind, that had been when it became truly real. Which side had he fallen in love with? Well, Adrien was convinced that if they hadn't been one and the same, it wouldn't have happened. Not with Marinette too intimidated by her own crush to show him her true self. And not with Ladybug so far out of reach on that pedestal where he had placed her. He checked his watch. 11:35. He'd been out on the balcony for almost 3 hours. Where was she? And what sort of gift did she have which had to be given the night before rather than at his party the next afternoon? He had seen the scraps of fabric and other evidence about her room that indicated the gift would be something she had made for him. And that only added to the anticipation. Adrien? He spun around. Had that been a flash of red light from where the voice had come, gone before he could catch its glow directly? Whatever he had seen, what he saw now was Ladybug, standing in the moonlight and positively aglow with its heavenly shine. "My lady," Adrien whispered out of habit. She giggled. "How funny. That's what Cat Noir calls me," he said, stepping down from the railing and stumbling just a bit. Adrien couldn't tell if he was more surprised by that bit of clumsiness, which would be as normal for Marinette as it was out of character for Ladybug, or her response, which seemed, well, not exactly right. They'd known each other's identities for months now. "Are you feeling all right?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. For a silly moment, he wondered if this was some kind of time travel switcheroo, that maybe this was actually Ladybug from a year ago. Stranger things had happened to both of them after all, but no, not a chance. Puberty's last hurrah had been very kind to Marinette in the past year, and her silhouette alone proved there was simply no way this could be a younger version of her. Adrien realized he was staring a little downward of where manners required, and looked back up to meet her true blue eyes. "Mm-hmm," she said, nodding perhaps a bit too enthusiastically. "I'm fine. I mean, there's no emergency tonight, no villains out and about, and I saw you on your balcony, so I thought maybe, you might like some company." "But you told me to be out here," Adrien thought. He didn't say it, though. Words seemed reluctant to emerge from him. As Ladybug approached him, the light over the balcony door illuminated her cheeks, showing the pink flush behind those tiny, adorable freckles, which had almost completely faded as Marinette grew into a woman. "You don't mind if I stay for a moment, do you?" she asked, looking up at him in a way that made his heart pound in his throat. Not at all," he said, reaching up to rub the back of his neck. Somehow the local temperature had gone up a good 5 degrees despite the cooling breeze. "You're so cute!" Ladybug laughed, going to place a hand on his shoulder, which somehow landed on his chest instead. "I mean, handsome. Handsome, of course, I bet you hear that from so many girls. But I want you to know I really mean it. I sometimes feel like I can't even keep my thoughts straight in my head when you're around. I guess Ladybug's powers are no match for Adrien's charms." Thank you," Adrien replied. Was she under some kind of magical infatuation spell or something? He was starting to get worried. "I hope you don't think it's too forward of me," Ladybug whispered, drawing in closer. "But would you kiss me, Adrien? You don't have to, of course, but I've always wanted to." Adrien felt frozen on the spot, and Ladybug was inside his guard in a heartbeat, her lips touching feather light on his, as if it were their first time. His arms went instinctively around her, sliding up her back, touching her zipper. Wait, her what? Ladybug giggled just once through their kiss, then drew her lips close to his ear. "Happy birthday, Adrien," she breathed softly. "I'm here to make your teenage fantasy come true. I'm sure there's at least a part of you that's dreamed about this, my love." She moved her lips back to his, moaned softly through their next kiss, then pulled away, but kept her eyes locked on his own. "So, maybe you'd like to help me take my spots off?" She cooed and actually batted her eyelashes at him. At her words, for just a moment, Adrien expected the suit to flash and dissolve away. But, of course, that didn't happen this time. It would be up to him to take care of that part, thanks to Marinette's sewing talents. "With pleasure, milady," he replied, and swooped her up into his arms. After all, if Marinette really wanted to do this for him, why not enjoy it? He had to admit, he would have been hard-pressed to find a more effective way to instantly seduce him. I love it when you call me that. Ladybug sighed, kissing his neck with little pecks which almost made him drop her. But he made it to the bed and lowered her down. Would you grant your lady's request, sweet prince? Of course. She smiled at him in a way that made his blood boil. Leave the mask on, she whispered. Ladybug has to protect her secret identity, after all. But if you're very good to me, maybe I'll let you see who I really am in the morning. True to her word, when the sun came up, Marinette revealed who had really been under the mask the whole time. Surprise! It's me! She yelled to wake him up, laughing uncontrollably. Adrien couldn't have been happier. After all, he probably wasn't the only young man in Paris who had fantasized about such a night with Ladybug. But he was the only one who got the real thing. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel. It really helps so much. And don't forget to check out my Xeno, link below. As always, stay miraculous!